If you hear it, that is my lawn. That is my dryer going in the background, and it is I, your neighborhood-friendly coach, trainer, promoter, 43-year-old professional wrestler, Zack Primetime Reeb. We are here with another episode of Going Over, and I am joined once again by my podcast partner, the 7-foot, because I love it talking like Wade Barrett. Wrecking Ball, Paul Isadora. Paul, hello and welcome yet again.
Hey, dude, what is up?
A lot to talk about.
Oh, dang it, man. Yeah, a lot of good stuff, man. So we just came off of our March show. So I was I don't know, I think I was like stressed out. We were having a surprise birthday party for my wife at the show. So I was just consumed with getting all that stuff going and stuff like that. And then I thought the blessing in disguise, the food truck was out front, and they were like, "Hey, man, you want to swing around back and sell some food?" And so we
Very
did, but
expensive.
very expensive. But my understanding, everyone that I talked to had the same comment: very expensive, but fucking good.
It was good.
Right?
Bacon,
Right. So,
bacon, mushroom, smash burger. What a way to have a cheat day for yours truly. And it definitely ran right through the old 43-year-old man. Thank God I waited till after match 2. But Paul, a lot of good and a lot of even gooder, if that's a word. A lot of even gooder happened at the show because it's led to this. And one thing I wanted to do was I wanted to talk about what the rest hold is, what the settle down hold is. And everybody always talks about, it's to catch your breath. You do it to catch your breath, or if you get lost in a match. And I mean, those can be reasons too. But what the settle down hold is, the reverse chin lock, something when you're settling down on a wrestler for, it's usually what the heel is doing in the after some hope spots to calm the crowd down. You've been raising them up, you've been taking them back down. Now you've grabbed on this hold, and so let's just say you cut the wrestler off, you're in the heat. You would, you're still listening to the audience to build a couple hopes or whatever the fuck you want to call it. But you're building this crowd up, and then at the pinnacle of them starting to rise a little bit, you snatch a hold on the guy. That you're basically telling him, hey, when we get this place rumbling again, that's when we're going to start heading home. That's when we're going to start doing the old comeback, the old bump and feed, as many guys call it. We're going to throw a couple false finishes in there to spicing up the night and really keep these guys 10 toes down on their toes. But what I wanted to talk about was last night I made sure, and I walked through the locker room and I saw everybody conversing with opponents. I wanted to make sure that I took this guy I was working with, my dude, much respect, Dickie Dakin, man. I made it clear, even the finish. I made it clear to the referee, even the finish. We're going out there and we're going to do this shit in the ring. And one thing I wanted to toot my own horn on, but I also wanted to throw it out there to let these guys know, is patience. Patience to let things marinate, patience to let it breathe, let it open up into what it needs to be. And in pro wrestling, we see no patience. There is no patience. It's, oh shit. So I grabbed him in that chin lock and settled down, and about a minute or so went by, and I was active. I was, showing him around and stuff, but I was sitting there for a minute or so in my own head, and nobody was doing anything. It was quiet. So I took him down to the mat, and we sat there. I think a total, we were probably there 2.5, 3 minutes. So for 2.5, 3 minutes, this building in Sparks, Nevada is pin drop quiet, right? They're wondering, what the fuck? What's going on here? We were up a little bit. Now we're down. You sit there in that hold. I don't care if it takes 5 or 10 minutes until you finally start to get the rumblings. And once they start rumbling and once they're ready for it and they ask for it, that's when you bring them up. And the settle down hold before you go home, go to the comeback is almost just like the hot tag. It's almost like you're building up a hot tag, but you're doing it in a one-on-one match. And we sat there in that hole very patiently. There's a few times he moved around, and a few times I saw Cody as the ref, like, hey, what's going on? I had a conversation with him too. I said, he's done, Cody. And then he looks up and he goes, who's Cody? And I go, he's done, Cody. You're Cody, motherfucker. That's who Cody is. And they started rumbling, and we came up, and they were back, and we went to a finish and got him up. But the one thing I want to tell you, like the settle down hold, if you cut somebody off, that settle down hold, you don't slap the settle down hold right away. That's where you get your heat and you beat on them and you build some fight back from the sympathetic baby and cut him off a few times. And after you've beat on him enough and you've gotten the crowd teetering a little bit, then you settle down with the guy and you bring the audience back down so you can build them back up, and then you can go home. And I just felt like it took a lot of patience to do that. And I don't think there's a lot of people out there that would have the patience to sit through that, because a lot of these guys, if they don't hear the noise or nothing's going on, they panic. The panic button comes on. So what do you think? What's your thoughts on what I was talking about there, with something we don't ever talk about, and it's something that's been done in wrestling? The classic settle down hold from the heat.
Sure, yeah, and I know that people say they refer to it as, a rest hold or whatever it is, and obviously sometimes we do that, right? Just different environments. I know that we talk about it frequently about when people come up here for the first time, right? And the elevation is different, and you go out there and you do the normal pace that you're used to, and then you realize, fuck, dude, the air's thinner, it's harder to breathe, all those things. So definitely I can see the reason that you would do that, right? You're blown up a little bit. I'm going to slap a hold on. I'm going to catch my breath. So I can definitely see that. But the situation you're talking about is exactly what you said, right? You've got the ebbs and flows of the match, and then you want it to go, okay, we're going, to level this crowd out, and then we're going to build back to where they get the loudest, and then you're going to start working from there. So and I'm standing behind the camera just watching this whole thing happen, right? And I'm just listening to the crowd, and we always talk about that. We're talking about listening to the crowd and waiting for the opportune time that they're ready, right? They're ready for this guy to get up and potentially start fighting back, right? So I just remember just listening and going, okay, they're flat, here they come, and it was like almost in my mind, I'm like, you're this far from the top of how loud they're gonna get, and I'm like, then you just start going, right? Then you start working up, and I'm like, they are gonna fucking explode when this jaw jacker happens. And then that's exactly, we talked about the hot tag should be a pop in itself. So it was that the jaw jacker, and the cloud was just boom, just exploded real quick. And I was like, okay, fuck, dude. That was, timing, like I couldn't plan it any better to go, this is the time that this sequence should have started happening. So for me, it was just, I'm watching as a fan, as a who's been around a while, and understanding the way that I'd like it to happen, and then seeing it go down that way, I think was refreshing. Not that it was unexpected, because I'm watching the whole thing progress and I'm seeing how it's going down. So, but it was just cool to see, like, as the crowd is almost to their peak, you're like, this is the time. Here we go. So we're not going to wait till it peaks. and then it starts dropping off before you start moving up. So,
Exactly.
uh, so I definitely appreciated watching it, and thinking the thoughts in my head of how this should go, and then watching it play out that way. So, exciting for that stuff, and then obviously, the way that the rest of the match went down, was special as well. So things to build off, and we always talk about that as well. Like, what can you do this show that the fans will remember and go, I want to see retribution, or I want to see that guy get back, or whatever it is, some sort of controversy that happens at the end of the match or show or whatever, that they go, I want to come back and see what comes of this situation. So, I think so many of the boxes were checked, with the things that I think should happen.
Yeah, that's well, I was talking to the guys today about it, and it was disheartening. And not in a, I get it, but it was disheartening walking through the locker room and sticking to your guns of no, we ain't gonna even talk about the finish. And you walk through the locker room and you see everybody just working everything out. And it's like I told the guys at class today, and I'm gonna go around, I'm gonna start asking everybody, excuse me, if you can sit back there and do that, and this is gonna work, this match you're putting together back here, if that's gonna work, and something I don't know about that audience out there, can you pull me aside or give me a phone call and enlighten me? Enlighten me on something in 25 years. I don't fucking know, because I want to know too, because we don't know. Like, hey, I know what moves you do. You know what moves I do. You're the good guy, I'm the bad guy. Cool, I get it. Who's going over? Okay, you are. Is there something to the story you want to add? Okay, cool. I don't know how we're going to put this together, because I don't know how those unpredictable people out there in the audience are going to react to anything we do once we come out the curtain. I have no idea. And that is what it was so beautiful. That's what I've been doing lately, and I've done it before, but it's been so long since I haven't mailed it in. And what I mean by mailing it in is when you sit in the locker room and you put something together, or at the training school or whatever, and you go, oh, we got a killer match planned out, and this audience is going to love it. Well, if you know that, please, 530-315-4020. I got dipshits calling me every day from my number on the posters and the flyers and the websites. It's right there on my Facebook too. Just feel free. Give me a call up on the old phone and tell me why that match you're choreographing. How do you know that matchup is gonna hit on all cylinders? How do you know that one's gonna check the boxes? How do you know that audience is gonna go ape shit at all these moments? How do you know all these things that you are saying is going to happen at the training school while you're putting it together? If you know how this crowd's going to react for a 7-minute match, a 25-minute, if you know how, there's my fucking phone number. You call me, please. I'm begging you, down on both knees. I would like some wrestler, some aspiring wrestler, some promoter to call me and say, well, I booked the entire show and we choreographed everything because I knew exactly how that audience was going to react. I knew every chant. I knew every whisper. I knew it all. Because if you know, please tell me, because I don't. And I don't think anybody ever has. And that's the beauty of this art form, is that we don't fucking know. So how about we get trained up and we go out there and let's have a little fun. And guess what? The guy I'm working isn't paying me. That's not how I'm making my money. I'm making my money Because the audience is paying for a fucking ticket.
Absolutely, and that's the way that you're going to get brought back to a promotion, is that you affect the audience a certain way, where now the audience is asking, when's that guy going to come back? Or, man, I really enjoyed this match between this guy and this other guy. So I don't know. Like I think about all these different situations, and we've talked in the past about, the common thing that you tell all your students is like, bring your gear, right? Regardless, right? You might get in a match, you might not. You might be showing up just to show face. And we talk about that as well, right? How important it is just to show up to shows, and you got nothing else going on. It's like, well, I might as well go to a wrestling show, because hopefully your mindset is, I'm going to learn something here, right? I'm going to see something in one of these matches, or I'm going to see a couple things in a couple different matches that I can go, hey, I can do something like that. Or did you see how that guy worked the crowd? Did you see how that guy was patient in the settle down hold? All these different things I think are so important. But it just reminds me that these guys that are asked to be a replacement for someone else because someone got hurt, someone got a new job, whatever it is, that they're not able to make it. So somebody else steps in. And I feel like, a bunch of shows in a row here, we've had this exact same situation happen where somebody steps in for someone else who couldn't make it. And then somebody goes, well, what's the deal with that guy? And I say, oh, he didn't make it, but the guy that filled in for him did a really good job. So I'm going to keep using that guy. Right. So it's almost
Show got
comical
better.
to me. Right. The show got better. But it's just, I think the adaptability of these people, right? And what's more, shows the ability to be adaptable than being able to listen to the crowd, and kind of, you hear so often, you kind of, I put together some little things in the back, right? A kind of an outline of the things I think could work, and if the crowd is into it at a certain point, I think this could be a good sequence, right? But not going, we're gonna go this sequence to this sequence to this sequence to this sequence, and then you're gonna do this, right? I don't remember the last time, but me going, are you guys canning your chain wrestling right now? Like, are you talking about, hey, we'll lock up, and then I'll grab a headlock, and you take a hammer lock, and and all these different things? I'm like, dude, just go out there and wrestle around. I don't understand that it's that this is, the sport is called pro wrestling, right? Why are we not wrestling out there? Why are we not grabbing a hold? Why are we not exchanging holds? Why is there not a struggle to go from one hold to another? Why do the things look so smooth? And we use the word choreograph so much, but that's exactly, like, why does it look like you planned this whole thing and practiced it in the back? Why does it look like that? Why doesn't it look like a fight, a competition, a wrestling match? Why doesn't it look like a struggle?
One thing that really gets me is people, like, they'll throw a weak chop or a completely worked fake punch, and someone will yell, hit him harder, pussy, or they yell, that's fake as shit, and guys will be like, I'll meet you after the show and I'll show you fake. And it's like, no, you won't. You just threw a shitty chop. Your chop is shit. Your punch looks fake. I can see right through it. It's totally fake. So everybody's so I'm going to defend the honor of professional wrestling that it's real. But you're the guy, the same guy who wants to defend the honor of professional wrestling and show us it's real is the same guy throwing the same shitty shot in the first place that made the fucking fan make the asshole comment. And is it really an asshole comment? Because we can't fucking insult their intelligence. It's like, here's my face. Oh, yeah, you missed by a mile. It didn't connect. It's fake. It's phony. Go ahead, yell that this guy sucks. That's totally fine. But on a high note, and there's still so much I want to talk about just off this one show. That's what I love about wrestling is learning. And I had such a good time, man. Man, I've been booking Surza the wrong way, man, because, and no offense to Surza, but mid-card semi-main event heel, but complete main event babyface, man. This guy, he's there. He's there as a babyface. And he was a stroke of genius, is what I call it. So at the start of the match in the main event with Travis, he tells the crowd, he goes, "When I say this, you say Surza. Here, let's try it out, right?" So he gets the audience and he goes, "When I say this, you say Surza." And then he tries it out with them. So he goes, "La la 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 la, Surza. La 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 la, Surza." So he teaches the crowd what he wants to teach him as the babyface. And then when he's coming back at the end and he's hot, and he's got them at their hottest, right before he goes into that spear near fall finish, he looks out at the crowd and he goes, "Blah, blah, 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 Surza." And then he goes into it. I said, this dude is a baby face savant, man. He was pumping the fist. He was reaching for the people. He had them going. And he set them up at the start with a chant that they could get involved with. And then he went along with his match and started working the sympathetic baby. And at the right fucking time, this genius, this high IQ babyface looks at the audience at the highest point and gives them exactly what they want to chant back at him to go right into the finish. And I was sitting there next to you and I was just like, holy fucking shit, dude. This motherfucker is a top level, high level babyface. Surza, Oakland Sun, is the babyface of baby faces, bro. Wow, I couldn't believe it. And Travis did something. I was talking to him today on the phone, and I said, "Hey, I watched you do something, and I wanted to see if you did it again, and if it was planned or if you just did it on the fly. But I thought it was the most amazing thing, and it had nothing to do with his fucking moves. The guy don't need to go to the top rope. He don't need to fucking, you don't need to do any of that bullshit, man, because he doesn't need to. But he's got Surza down." And it was the best thing I've ever seen in my life. And if he does it more and he really starts to dig into it, I think it's going to be crazy. But he goes, "Get up!" And he yells at the heel. And then he looks at the crowd and goes, and then he goes back to whooping his ass. So he's like yelling at the ref and he's screaming angrily at the wrestler. And then he looks up at the crowd like, "Hey, everybody, how's my fans today?" And then he goes back to him. I was like, "Oh, dude, this is money." And he did it so perfect. But yeah, man, I told you at the end of the night, bro, I was like, fuck, I even went up to him. I was like, fuck, I've been booking this guy wrong. And I love it when you see those things. And then I saw like a lot at your show. What did you see from those two in that main event that really stood out with you?
Well, I mean, I think we keep talking about the same thing with Travis. Just it just seems like this mean streak, right? He's gonna kick the shit out of somebody, and you're seeing little subtleties like that where it's like, it's the getting the crowd involved in it. It's not like, I don't know how many matches I watch that's what's going on. It's like these guys are oblivious to that there's even a crowd out there, right? They're just ignoring the crowd completely, and it's like, what are we trying to accomplish here? Are we trying to get the crowd to react and participate, or are we just so focused on this guy that's standing in front of us that we're just from this move to this move to this move, and we're not engaging with the crowd at all? So I mean, the two things that you mentioned right there, kind of tell the whole story, right? It's like you have two guys that are continuously making sure the crowd is involved in the match, right? Want them to be included because that's what gets you you bring the crowd in and then you can tell the promoter, hey, these guys are here to see me. Watch when I come out of the curtain what type of reaction I get, right? So I think that those two things, you said one thing about each guy, but it correlates perfectly in the middle. That's a big part of both of those guys' character is I'm going to get the crowd involved, right? I'm not going to ignore these people. They're paying their money, and I'm going to make sure that they get their money's worth in that situation. So, I love that it's something that you see and go, hey, it was great that you used this guy as a baby face because I think he does a great job. So that's just confirmation for me, right? I feel like I'm and I've said this a dozen times. Like my confidence is always kind of the thing that I think is the shaky thing, right? So I'm gonna have to, um, I have to prove that I can do this, right? I can put a show together and it's going to be entertaining, and there's going to be good matches, and people are going to be wanting to come back and see more. And like we said with the end of your match, it's that whole thing, right? Where the crowd goes, wow, man, I wonder what's going to happen next time. What's going to be the results of this finish? How is that going to affect the next show? And I always love it when it's like, the same night that the show happened, and people are commenting on, I love this, or sending me messages, and I can't wait to come back in April and see what happens with this scenario. So those are always exciting things, and I think just like what you mentioned is what kind of feeds that.
Well, that's the thing. Like with the way the Serge Travis Alexander match finished, it's you got to do it again. The low blow finish. The fans want to see it. It's got to do it again, and there's got to be no disqualification, or the title can change hands by disqualification because of what he did. Right. And me and Dickie, now we got something to keep going with the same thing. Yep. We got the same thing because okay, now I have to tap out. The only way I can lose is I have to tap on that mat, and if I don't tap on that mat, this isn't good enough. You know what I mean? And you can build all that. So you got two solid pieces right there. And one thing I really liked was, and we didn't talk about this, is after what happened with Cade Adams, the old West Coast dog, I liked his little promo he did at the start because he was very convincing with the fans. Hey, he got me. He came to fight, but now I'm going to work even harder and I'm going to come back. And no matter what it takes, I'm going to get back here and I'm going to be the Nevada State heavyweight champion again. Have a good show tonight, guys. I'm going through concussion protocol, whatever. But now he's in their minds too. So what you're doing is you're planting these seeds and you're building these personalities. Oh, this is a good guy. He just came out here and he was beaten by a bigger, he even said something about maybe next time you see me out here competing, I'll have abs. So he's telling the audience that, yeah, I was beaten by a bigger, a stronger, a more in shape, hardworking guy. I let myself go a little bit and I got caught and I got knocked out and I lost the belt and it was unexpected. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to be, when this is over and all cleared up, I'm going to get into the best shape of my life. And whether I get an immediate rematch or I got to work my way up the ladder, I will be the champion again. And I'm coming for that belt. And that creates story, whatever way you want to run with that story. And the finish there was just a lot of good stuff. There was a lot of good stuff last night that if you looked at the show you ran, the attendance was up, at least 25, 30 fans. The show ran smooth. The fans are starting to get into it a little bit more. And most importantly, what I like to see in a progressing company is that you're letting the scenarios that happen in the ring and the characters, the good guys and the bad guys, you're letting them start to develop who they are. And once you do that, once you let this stuff build itself up and you let some things by the way finishes run out and stuff, now you start having stories, and that's where the brain starts getting really creative. So like I said, real good job, man. That Kate Adams promo was good. One thing I noticed that I wanted to talk about, because we always talk about being in shape, a lot of people blowing up last night. A lot of
Right,
people
absolutely. Well,
a lot of gas, a lot of winged.
right, and I talked about it a little bit. Right, it is a completely different scenario when you get into elevation. And I remember, playing basketball at University of Nevada, right? And I remember, getting we were practicing and all this stuff, and then I'd go home on the weekends to San Jose, California, so closer to sea level. And I just remember thinking, like, man, I can run all day, right? Because you train in altitude, and then when you go back down closer to sea level, it's completely different. And I never, like, for some reason, it never clicked with me until I got into wrestling. And I remember, like, early 2000s, when people were coming up here, I was like, oh, I see why you guys breathe so good, because you're used to training up here, and then when you come down, closer to sea level, then you guys breathe even better, right? Because you're already conditioned to this elevation, and then you come down closer to sea level, and it's a way easier time of breathing, and you don't blow up as quick. So people that come up this way, obviously they get the opposite effects. They're used to training closer to sea level, and then they come up here in a little bit of elevation, and next thing you know, it's like, man, I'm out of breath. I'm generally in pretty good shape, but for some reason, man, I'm getting blown up here. So, yeah, it's one of those things where it's an advantage for us to train up this high, and a disadvantage for people that are coming up. So, and obviously, you and I talked so much about storyline stuff and how things can play into that stuff. So, that's definitely something that you can use as someone that trains at this altitude. It's like, you know, we talk about home court advantage, right? You come into my backyard, you're going to have to deal with this elevation, so I'm going to have an advantage in this scenario. But I go closer to sea level, it's not going to be an advantage anymore. It's going to be, I have to be on the same level as you. So I think it's definitely something that we can use in the future.
Well, one thing I told, and when I see somebody blowing up, is if you're puking, if you're blown up and you can't talk, don't fall down on the floor and don't sit around and expose that you're blown up. Get outside, go away from the boys in the back, get away from them, because nobody wants to work the guy that's puking and gassed out. If I see somebody sitting over here like, or laying on the ground like, oh my God, I can't breathe, that's the last guy on my list. You call me up and go, hey, I want you to work old Peter Thompson over here. I'm like, well, Peter Thompson collapsed coming through the curtain, had to be revived by the EMTs, and he was vomiting all over himself. Oh, and by the way, he shit his pants too. I don't want to work Peter Thompson. You know what I mean? I don't want to work that guy. There was some stuff last night that I really enjoyed. There was a lot of different moments, right? And one thing, it just blows my mind, and maybe he blew himself up, but the damn MILF Hunter, man, and I can't believe he's making the podcast. Matthew Castanuela, the MILF Hunter, man. And I've always liked this kid, man. I trained him a couple times, he's gone. Trained him a couple times, gone. I see him down somewhere in blue jeans or in a backyard going through light tubes, getting the shit beat out of himself. But I mean, man, he's really got that. He's really got that character down to a science. And I was talking to my coach, and I was like, fuck, man, if I could have landed that character, you know what I mean? If I could have landed that character 20 years ago. And I couldn't stop laughing because I was watching him skip. He's got a great little skip to Maloo going around the ring. And I saw him make that first run. And I thought in my head, I remember telling you, I was like, God, look at him skipping. That's great. That's such a terrible skip. It's perfect. And I was like, I want him to go around the ring one more time and skip, right? Like I really want him to. But please don't do it because I think you're going to blow yourself up skipping around the ring one more time because he was so energetic with his entrance. And to my approval, he did go around the ring one more time. So I got to see one more round of this horrible skipping, which was it's horrible in a good way. And I knew it. It blew him up. So all that entrance, all that Ultimate Warrior entrance just really blew the guy up. But one thing I wanted to talk about, which was a very coachable moment, is I heard the tag match with the Unwanted and Buck and Bay. And I didn't watch it, but when I heard the finish, I heard a loud noise from the crowd that I hadn't heard before or the rest of the night. And then I heard 30 seconds later, I heard the three, a little bump, and then I heard a 3 hit and the crowd was down. And what that noise was Brandon Nash had hit the little Tajiri cutter thing and the place went ape shit. And I said, what was that noise? And they tell me what the noise was. And it's like, well, why didn't you finish it right there? And he's like, oh, because we were heels and we wanted the crowd to be lower for the finish. And I said, there's something there. One move popped that audience like that. So you got something special right there. Because if you could go somewhere where no one knows who the fuck you are and hit that move and blow the building up like that off of one move, there's something there. So for you guys out there on indie level, not C level, Paul, indie level, for you guys out there, if you do something and that audience, it's a completely different sound than you get the entire night, know what you did and really start thinking like, hey, I got something here. No matter if I'm a good guy, a bad guy, what it is, I've got something here. This crowd liked something so much that it had a different effect than anybody else on the card. And I just, the ride home, we talked about this for like 30 minutes. Like, what do you do with that? What do you do when you find that? Because that can be special in any sense. You know what I mean? Like something that pops an audience just out of nowhere that has no idea who you are. There's so many different things like doing that move to somebody else at the right time, at the right place, saving that move, busting that move out or whatever you're doing out at the right time to maybe elevate you to winning belts, man. So it was like, there's just so much stuff. So, and what does it go back to? It goes back to us always talking about pay the fuck attention to what's going on, right?
Right. As I was watching that sequence right there, I thought it was going to be a sequence where the babyface was going to gain the advantage. That's why it caught me off guard because I don't remember exactly what led into it, but it was the babyface kind of stumbling in, and I thought he was going to hit a spear on him, or I thought it was going to be something where the babyface got the offense, and then it was just it came out of nowhere, and I don't remember which of the two took that move, but their portion of that sequence was probably, if it wasn't as important, it might have been even more important of the way that they took the move that made it look so good. So, but that's one of those things. And you say like, oh, well, they said that they didn't want to finish at that high. But at the same time, that's one of those things we talk about listening to the crowd. Like you hear that big pop right there, that might be a time to just roll the guy over and say, stay down, right? And just fucking hook the leg because you just hit him with something that the crowd thinks is the finish. There was also a kick in that match in the corner that looked just Christian hit someone with a kick in the corner, like a step up insecurity or something in the corner that the guy didn't put his hand up for. He got kicked right in the fucking face, and that could have been the finish too. So either
good,
one of
right?
those, yeah. So.
They roll back. Remember when they roll back in the ring? Sorry, but remember when they roll back in the ring and we were sitting next to each other, and JP goes, "Fuck, they getting back in the ring for?" And Buck and Bay roll back in the ring. Well, they roll back in the ring because those two guys heard that the crowd was actually like sad that they lost him behind them, and they rolled back in the ring and raise their hands up, and these two guys that, excuse me, don't have a lot of height. They don't have the best physiques in the entire world, but that does not matter, man. It does not matter in some case. Am I saying these guys are gonna headline WrestleMania night one against the Usos? You know what I mean? Are they gonna bring the Dudley Boys out of retirement? Probably not, man. But there's something there that the audience got behind them. There was something there that the audience gave a shit about these guys for. And if you as the promoter, as you as the booker, the producer of whatever's going on, if you can see that something in these people, boom.
Right. That's truly all we need is and we've talked about this, ad nauseum at this point, but it's the guys that are like, hey, this team dropped out. Who do you have? Who do you think could fill this spot? And for you, it's become a decision of this quickly that you go, oh, Buck and Bay, they can do that. So it's awesome to know that you have the confidence in those guys to immediately, like, that's the team on the top of your head that you go, oh, if you need someone to do whatever it is, fill in the blank, these are the guys. They can handle it. So and obviously that's kudos to them as well. That's them working hard and showing you what they're what they're able to accomplish. And we talk about in training, like, everyone's not going to be able to do everything, right? Not just because you can't do a foot bump or whatever doesn't mean you can't sell, and doesn't mean you can't listen to the crowd, and things like that. It's like, okay, so now we're gonna get away from that stuff, the stuff that you don't do very well, and we're gonna really focus on the stuff that you do very well. And we're going to amplify that stuff, and obviously in those guys' case, that's exactly what it is. I was watching. You had mentioned you got to watch these guys when they're getting ready for the hot tag, right? When one guy is trying to hype up the crowd for his partner who's getting the shit kicked out of him, you got to watch it, man, because it looks like I'm going to come in and kick your ass because you were just beating up my best friend. So that's the emotional feeling that I was getting just watching that match. It's like, this guy wants to come in there and kick these guys' ass because they were beating up his friend. He can't wait to get in there. He's chomping at the bit.
One thing is, we switch over to the that Monday Night Raw in Brussels, Belgium, or wherever it was when Cena came back, and what I loved about it was he walked straight down to the center of the ring. He walked straight out to the ring, and he stood in the center of the ring, and he just stood there. He master classed us, man. He was like, that you want to know if you're over, walk out to the center of the fucking ring, stand there and start listening. You'll know quick. You'll know quick whether they like you, they hate you, they don't give two fucks about you. You know what I'm saying? And what I really love is the guys aren't to you young guys out there, give the audience a chance. Give them a chance when you come out, where your energy is going to be. The guy's got the fucking camera. He's waiting for you. Da, 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 da. Music hits. And these guys run out and they go, come on, Spike Nevada! Come on, Orville! And they're going crazy. And you're like, Jesus Christ, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, what are you begging? Are you begging that bad for me to fucking go, yay, all right, cool. Is that what you wanted? Like, come out, gauge the audience, come back to the camera, talk to him, go to the ring, get in the ring. Now, if the energy's high, it's out of control, amp your energy up because you're over. They like you. But if there's nothing there, don't force the issue. Do not force the fans to start trying to react to you. If they're not there, if they're not into you, if it's not happening yet, Give it time. It'll start to happen over time as they see you a few more times and see what you do. But this whole coming out and just completely ignoring there's a a camera right there in front of you and just come on, get behind me. Whoa. It's like if they're not there, they're not there. Don't give them the same energy back that they're not giving you. Let them build it up. Give them an opportunity to look at you. You know what I mean? It's like these dating sites when you're swiping. If you're just swiping, you're probably going to get someone that likes you back that you don't like. But if you really go through, let's go through the profile. Oh, this lady has 10 kids. No thanks. Oh, she likes snakes. Oh, she skydives. Not my thing. Oh, she's also a unicorn. She's 40 plus years old with no kids. Now I have a reason. Why are you 40 with no kids? I'll tell you why I am, but why are you? Now I'm a little interested. So just give the audience a chance to like digest you without you screaming and yelling and hitting turnbuckles. Just because you watch somebody on WWE who's over week after week after week do something, that doesn't mean you have to do it like that, because they're on national television. They're on pay-per-view, whatever you want to call it nowadays. They're big time in the streaming service. So it's like, let's just let it marinate a little bit, and they'll tell us if they like us. You know what else they'll do? They'll tell us when they're ready for some action. They'll tell us when they're ready to be brought down. They'll tell us when it's ready. If they want to see that big choke slam, they'll tell us when they're ready for it. And then when we're ready to give it to them, we'll give it to them.
Absolutely. I mean, we can't talk enough, it seems, about the listening to the crowd and involving the crowd. The thing that sells the tickets, right, is selling the tickets to the crowd. So all of the things, I feel like we go around and we always get back to the same subject, which is make sure you're getting the crowd involved. Make sure you're giving them attention. Whether it's giving them what they want or taking away what they want from them and getting them pissed off. Whichever role you're playing, it is equally important that you do that, right? Take that crowd that's paying the money and entertain them. That's the way that you're going to, you go to a booking and you might be getting paid a certain amount of money, but you also, hopefully, you are taking your merchandise and you are saying, hey, I'm going to try to get these people to like what I'm doing, wanting to support me. They want to wear a shirt with my name on it because they want to show everybody else in the crowd, this is my guy, So I just think that's so important that you make that connection with the crowd, whether it's you want them to hate you or you want them to love you, making that connection. So, we can't have wrestling shows if we don't have fans there to watch the wrestling shows.
Well, we're not saying it enough because we're going to keep saying it over and over and over again. And you're going to hear it 1,000 times, just like slow the fuck down. Keep your head up. What are you doing? Pay attention over there. The one thing that you say the audience wants to buy and wear a shirt with our stuff on it. Well, I think the ultimate thing that we can do is not just sell a t-shirt, but the ultimate thing we can do is I think the audience should see us wearing somebody else's product, somebody else that has a business that says, damn, this company and this guy is so over. I have to have my shoe company. I have to have my fishing lure company. I have to have my brand on this guy's body when he comes out at this show, or on the aprons, or hanging up in the rafters, or in the entryway of this company, because this brand is worth money. If they see Roman Reigns, he's got what did he have? A Jordan shoe? He had his own bloodline Jordan shoe. I think this guy's sponsored. I'm pretty sure Roman Reigns is sponsored by Nike or something like that. Like Nike, who sponsors sports players, like LeBron James or whoever is sponsoring a professional wrestler because he's so you attach your brand to this guy's brand, and your brand is going to be seen by not only more people, but it's going to be seen by a completely different demographic that you've been able to reach out and draw to. And that's why we're doing this. So that connection with the audience, good, bad, or indifferent, damn it, we keep saying it, is the most important thing. It's the difference between a full house of fans and making a living doing this, and just doing this to do this.
Exactly. It's just, it really comes down to that. I mean, you make a great point with that. Like, getting someone to believe that you are going to bring people to the table enough where they want to put, some sort of sponsorship on you, or, hey, would you wear my shirt? Would you, can you put my logo on your poster? Where they think, just like you said, man, it's thinking outside the box. It's putting that, like, well, these are people that probably wouldn't generally see my product, but if I put it in this other demographic, then I have that opportunity. I've already got my, fan base, if you will. I've already got my people that support my brand. But what if I attach myself to this other person who, brings in a completely different audience?
Mm-hmm.
Then those people are more willing to come check out my product. And I think, we kind of started off with the food truck, right? And, I was talking with Larry, of course, owned a business, and, I feel like he really wants to step in there and give me advice, because he's been there, but he's doesn't want to step on toes, and I'm just like, I appreciate the the attitude of not wanting to step on toes, but you're decades older than me, and you have so much more experience. Like, just force me to take your advice, man. Just give that advice, because you're talking from a place of success. So he's like, talking about the food truck. Well, maybe you should put a dollar amount per person that's in, that bought a ticket. And I was like, oh, like the people that are going to come out there and buy food from him. And he's all, no, everyone in the crowd. Put a dollar amount on everyone that's in the crowd, and that's what you get. That's what you offer as this is how much it's going to cost to to sponsor our thing, and have the privilege to be out there and have an opportunity to sell to our fans. So it's the perfect tie-in, right? It's like, you want to set up your, in this case, you want to set up your food truck in this spot, because maybe this the demographic of these fans, they're not going to normally look for your style of food truck, but because they're there and because you're there, they have now found you, and there's some sort of monetary value attached to that, right? You're going to grow your business because of my business, and I think it's such a great great way to look at things, because obviously we've said it 100 times, this is the wrestling business, where we are not just doing this because it's a fun thing that we do and that we love it and all that stuff. The goal is to not work a regular job. The goal is to do this as your job, make a business out of this that supports whatever your lifestyle is, and I think tying together brands, is, there's no better way to do that, to get those brands on the same page, because now that guy is going to tell everyone, hey, I just had my trailer set up at this wrestling show, and you should go check it out, because I saw that dude in there numerous times checking out what we were doing with a smile on his face, enjoying it. So I'm like, this guy enjoys what he's seeing, and hopefully he's going to spread the word. So now it's time for your 5-minute countdown.
5 minutes remain in this podcast. 5 minutes remain. Yeah, that was the thing is, like, a lot of stuff we talked about today. Every show is different. Every match is different. We see a lot of similarities. Like you talked about earlier, I waited and we did the jaw jacker, and I actually had him run off the rope, and I super kicked him, and but it came at the right time. And I remember you saying, "Well, this is the fourth jaw jacker I've seen tonight," and I said, "Hey, I did mine first, right?" And you're like, "Yeah, you were first to do it." So you see something work, right? Here's the thing, like, and people must have been watching. They must have been watching because they saw something happen and it worked, and they go, "Oh, that worked, so I'm going to do it." But they have no reason why I did it and when I did it to make it work. So they just figure, "Hey, we're going to be in this same scenario. If we do this, cool, it worked earlier." It doesn't mean it's going to work now. It's got to work for you. And if you see something earlier in the night work, and then you add it to your match, and you go, "Oh, it worked for them, so it's going to work for me." No, it's not. Because what worked for me worked because I didn't put it in my match. I didn't plan it there. It just popped it. The opportunity arose, and that happened to fall in that situation. So don't watch somebody else's match and go, "Oh, this worked for them, so it's going to work for me." No, it's not going to work for you, because if you place something in there because it worked for somebody else, it's not going to work for you, because there's a good chance that it worked for them because they didn't put it in there designed, preempted to work. They did not choreograph it to work. It just worked because of the way they were listening to the audience and where they placed it. So don't get caught in this, "Oh, I watched this on television and it worked for this guy." Yeah, it worked for this guy because he's a fucking pro. This guy makes fucking millions of dollars a year doing this for a very good reason. Not because he didn't fucking do a 450 splash or superplex through the floor through a fucking table. That's not why he's making $1 million a year. He's making $1 million a year because what are they? TKO, the UFC guys, and even when Vince McMahon is running this tight ship for all these years, Vince goes, "I like that guy." I was listening to Bubba Dudley talk about why he was Bully Ray and why did he turn on Devon in TNA. And it was just so cool to me because I don't even remember it happening, but he says they did the 3D in 97 and they protected the finisher where nobody kicked out up until 2000, probably whatever, 15, 2020, whatever. And he said, they were in the locker room and they had realized they'd been everywhere. They won every tag team title. They beat everybody. So they started asking themselves, like, "What haven't we done?" "Oh, we've actually done everything we could do." "So what's the only thing that hasn't happened in our career?" "Well, no one's kicked out of our finisher." "Okay, well, Chris Sabin kicked out of his finisher, but Devon was the one who covered him." So Bubba's reason for turning heel was, well, if I would have covered him after that 3D, we would have beat them. You covered him and he kicked out. So after all these years, someone finally kicked out of our finishing move, and they kicked out of it because you covered him, because you weren't strong enough to keep him down for 3. So now you're not strong enough anymore. So I'm going to put the hammer on you and I'm going to take you out. And what that is that's that long-term storytelling. Protect your finish. Don't just kick out of everybody's finishing move. Surza set something up earlier in the show for the audience, gave it to them at the right time later. If you're going to settle down, stay settled down till the crowd rises up. If you got a hot entrance, cool. Don't blow yourself up during that hot entrance. Just so many cool things that happen. And it ain't, once again, guys, we're going to say it. It isn't about the moves. It's about the memories. So once again, Paul, I want to thank you for having me and all of my guys, and I mean that, all of my guys up at the show. We just had a double blackout. We're back in, and that's 10 seconds. For the Wrecking Ball, Paul Isadora, I'm Zack Primetime Reeb. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going over.